On the outskirts of the small town of Berezovsk stood a house that no one dared to speak about. A massive wooden structure, crooked and worn, with windows nailed shut and walls blackened by time. Once, the Orlov family lived there. But in 1986, a fire consumed most of the house. Some say not everyone made it out. The youngest daughter disappeared without a trace. Since then, the house had stood empty. Locals avoided it. They whispered that if you knocked 3 times at midnight, a light would flicker in the upstairs window, and a shadow of a child might appear. Some teenagers dared to check, but few returned, and those who did weren't entirely themselves. In October 2023, 4 university students decided to make a documentary about urban legends. Lena, the director, Dan, the cameraman, Misha, the editor, and Katya, the sound engineer. They wanted fame, a viral hit, and of course, someone suggested, why not film in the Orlov house? That's perfect material. Neighbors tried to warn them, don't go after dark. That house, it doesn't forget. But youth is fearless. They arrived at dusk. Mist curled around the trees. The air was thick with the smell of decay and damp wood. Floorboards groaned under their weight as if the house itself was protesting. The walls bore streaks of soot, dark shapes that looked suspiciously like shadows. On the second floor, they found a child's room. Toys lay scattered, dusty but untouched. On the walls were drawings, a family of 4, but each newer drawing grew darker, twisted, unnatural. On the last sheet, a 5th faceless figure stood behind them. A quiet shuffling came from the corner. Something moved, something alive. They decided to stay until midnight to capture paranormal evidence. The camera was set in the hallway. Lena and Katya sat near the window. Misha wandered the rooms. Suddenly, the recorder hissed and emitted a faint whisper. "Leave. This is not your place." Dan laughed nervously. "Very funny. Who recorded that?" Lena pointed at the camera screen. In the reflection of the hallway mirror, a black figure stood behind them. No one was there. When they tried to leave, the staircase down had vanished. A solid wall now blocked their path. "We came up from here," Katya whispered, trembling. They ran through the house. Doors led to rooms that didn't exist. Corridors twisted unnaturally. In one room, a tall mirror reflected themselves, but with hollow, empty eyes. And behind them, the 5th figure. Katya vanished first. All that remained was a small, old music box playing a haunting, looping tune. Misha tried to smash a window, but outside was only darkness, an endless void. A thin gray hand with blackened fingernails reached from the wall and dragged him in. Dan and Lena ran blindly, finding the basement. It reeked of burned wood and dampness. Among debris lay an old photo album of the Orlovs. On the last page, the family, 1986, and behind them, the same 5th shadow. Dan froze. His eyes stared into nothing. Black soot leaked from his mouth. Lena whispered almost to herself, "If anyone finds this, do not enter." The house doesn't let go. Behind her, faintly, a child's hand reached toward the camera. 3 years later, a journalist named Vika stumbled upon the video. Curiosity consumed her. She found the house still standing. The boarded-up windows, the broken roof, it waited. Inside, the music box played by itself. Dust floated in the air, moving unnaturally. Shadows shifted in the corners. She found the old Orlov photo album and a VHS tape. On it, the original family with the youngest daughter, Lena. And in every shot, she stood in the shadows, watching. Vika lifted her gaze. In the cracked mirror, the same child appeared, black eyes staring. "You came for them?" the whisper said. "Now you belong to us." The camera fell. The last footage captured her terrified face, and dozens of figures standing silently in the darkness behind her. The house still stands at the edge of Berezovsk. Sometimes, late at night, lights flicker in the upstairs windows. Shadows move on their own. And if you watch closely, you might see the 5th figure, waiting for the next curious soul.